Ladies and gentlemen, listen to what's about to happen on April 8th of 2024. First of all, CERN is going to be starting up their Hadron Collider to collide two atoms to produce what they're looking for called the God particle. Not only that, NASA is launching rockets into the eclipse, and they call the mission after an Egyptian serpent deity.
One of CERN's goals is to recreate Jacob's Ladder and to reopen a portal that is said to have existed between Earth, Mars, Venus, and Saturn when the planets were in alignment many years ago. CERN are pretty sure that other dimensions do, and they're making it their goal to ensure that they open the portal for their use. Who knows? Out of this door might come something, or we might send something through it. Now, prophecy in numerous parts of the Bible refer to a coming day when portals will be opened and spiritual entities are going to pass through and come to the earth.
CERN is dealing with radionuclear research, but it is more than that, because there are lots of physicians. I know some. They're doing very strange experimentation. There are beings from portals coming in and out. It's physicists from the CERN who told me this.
They've testified to beings coming in and out of portals.
Yes. They have apparently in the bottom of the CERN this portal, this door where they are dealing with all the subatomic dimensions. They say there are 17 different dimensions of reality. That's what those physicists say. Some others say there are more dimensions, you know. And now, when you look at what is going on in the CERN, there is a fight from some of the military agencies, Intel. They say that there is a fight on time. They're trying to change time.
What the What the?
CERN invented the World Wide Web. It's called www, and in Hebrew, W is 6, so www is 666. The Google quantum computer that powers CERN, the Google Chrome logo is now 666, and you say, what? Microsoft has a patent, W02020060606, for a cryptocurrency system using body activity. So the Mark of the Beast technology, they literally decided to name it W02020060606 for a cryptocurrency system using body activity.
AI doesn't have to be evil to destroy humanity. If AI has a goal and humanity just happens to be in the way, it will destroy humanity as a matter of course, without even thinking about it. No hard feelings. It's just like if we're building a road and an anthill happens to be in the way, we don't hate ants. We're just building a road, and so goodbye anthill.
And so goodbye anthill. Hey, Inspired Tribe, my fellow freedom lovers. John Nolan here. Thank you so much for tuning in to another Inspired live stream. It is Monday, April 1st, 2024, April Fool's Day, and we really don't need any April Fool's jokes. Reality is strange enough. It is ironic enough. It is woke enough. It is everything enough. And I think all jokes pale in comparison with our current state of reality. We're healthy, we're wealthy, we're whole, we're free. That's the mantra of the Inspired Livestream. I want to welcome everybody on Rumble, on X, and on YouTube. Again, thank you for tuning in from all over the world. This is a little compilation of clips that sort of, you know, showed a few different perspectives about CERN and the CERN activity. It's been much talked about in the last years, of course, and in many different contexts. And what I'm always amazed at is I didn't really go too far out there to hear commentators talk about it. I actually went and looked at some statements made by the CERN scientists themselves. including one that said we could destroy the universe. We don't know what the hell we're doing. Now, we're going to get to those statements, and we're going to break down what CERN does officially, how much money it costs, and you know, the strange things that these people are actually saying. But what this really is about is people have been saying, Jean, you really shouldn't focus on these things too much. Let's just create our new reality the way we want it. And that's what we're doing every day, by the way. So thank you for that. We agree 100%. But here's the thing. We have to really, really understand this, my friends, comprehend this. We have a reality that we're presented with every single day within this construct, this matrix, right? We have a reality, and that reality is playing out in front of our eyes, and it's in the movies, the entertainment, the news, and the general conversational tone. It's when you go to the store, it's when you go to an office building, whatever. There's a agreed upon reality that most people live in and communicate in. And then there is a completely different and inverted reality that is playing out underneath it. That's actually what's happening in this world. It's nuts, completely crazy, that we usually don't get to see. What has happened over the past 4 or 5 and I mean 4 or 5 years in detail, but then at least the last 15 years is that people have been digging. And the reason why such a facility like CERN and the Large Hadron Collider is such a big deal is because these insane psychopaths are affecting the very fabric of our shared reality. And they're doing it in a way that's become so obvious and that's become so in our faces that we couldn't look away any longer. I've been on and off over the last years. I was comparing timelines with my own memory. I was comparing timelines of CERN activity with an uptick in Mandela effects. And this is not simply just what you see on YouTube. There are many different ways to look for these things. It's upticks in hospitalization, mental hospitalization, upticks in psychiatric drugs and psychotropic drugs, where you go and you look at these metrics. Suicide rates go up, and then you start seeing patterns. And of course, there are many factors playing into this, but one of the main factors I believe it's playing into the rising insanity in people is the discrepancy between the fake reality that we're being fed every day and the reality that they have started to observe as they awaken spiritually. That's really what's going on. So then if you have all kinds of other problems and unhealed traumas, that's when people really go nuts, because they see every day this goes further and further apart. Here's the real thing that I'm observing, and here's the fake reality that I'm being presented with, and it drives people insane. So we have to reconcile. We have to talk about it. We have to normalize talking about these things. I want to go with you through CERN today. And we're going to cover some of the basics and cover some of the statements. And I believe it is imperative that everybody looks into this. They're desiring to shoot up the Hadron Collider, and I don't trust their statements, by the way, at all. But they have announced that they will do that. They will fire it up during the eclipse, and there must be a reason to do it during the eclipse, right? But let's look at this here together. I'm gonna put on my glasses so I can see and you can see. So first of all, CERN is a French term, but it translates into European Organization for Nuclear Research. It's not innocent, but sounds innocent enough. And I'm giving you the definition as provided by CERN itself. CERN is a vast research facility located near Geneva, Switzerland. It spans across the Swiss and French border, covering an area of 200 hectares. So that's 494 acres. It's a huge area. The main site in Meyrin, Switzerland, is about 100 hectares or 247 acres, while the rest of the facility is in France. Okay. The Large Hadron Collider is the world's largest and most powerful particle accelerator. It's a circular tunnel which is 27 kilometers long and is located, that's 16.7 miles. That's crazy. And is located at a depth of 50 to 175 meters or up to 574 feet below surface. It consists of a ring of superconducting magnets and other accelerator structures that boost the energy of the particles before they are made to collide. Okay, so this is, in a nutshell, what they say they're doing, right? The LHC was built at a cost of around $4.7 billion, with the majority of the funding coming from CERN member countries. Their annual budget is approximately $1.3 billion, with the majority of the funding coming from the member countries. Now, this is, once again, this is their official number. I'd venture out to say that they probably have a much, much larger budget, because I think that, you know, various agencies and various interested parties, private sector, are all invested in this in a big, big way. The member countries are, you know, Central European countries for the most part. You know, they almost overlap with the EU countries somewhat. Okay. In a moment here, let me still give you what they're saying. At CERN, our work helps to uncover what the universe is made of and how it works. We do this by providing a unique range of particle accelerator facilities to researchers to advance the boundaries of human knowledge. CERN's main focus is particle physics, the study of the fundamental constituents of matter, but the physics program at the laboratory is much broader, ranging from nuclear to high-energy physics, from studies of antimatter to the possible effects of cosmic rays on clouds. Okay, so this is sort of interesting. They are literally pumping billions of dollars into this, right? They've created this massive project, a tunnel project, an underground tunnel project. Of course, those who studied it know that most countries have an underground system, but still, you invest that kind of money. And they repeatedly, like when they go to Time Magazine and New York Times and the Washington Post, when they go to their mouthpieces, they will say stuff like, we're trying to understand how the Big Bang happened, right? At the same time, they're trying to look for the God particle. What a contradiction in statements. And they said they discovered it, right? And then they make it sound like they're just doing some, you know, some physicist, some scientist stuff that doesn't really affect anybody, right? But then you go and wonder, why is there so much security around this? Why is there the statue of Shiva, you know, the creator and destroyer of worlds? Why do they have mock rituals? And why are these scientists sometimes caught off guard when they're asked questions and they make really, really strange statements? And I figured, you know, for those of you who know scientists, when they're in the laboratory long enough and when they are so disconnected from outer reality, they lose touch with what the common person's value system is. So they'll just say certain things. I want to read to you a few statements that were made by CERN that will kind of blow your mind a little bit. Okay, so this before we go to the statements, so they're the Large Hadron Collider is set to commence a crucial experiment on April 8, aiming to uncover dark matter following a 2-year enhancement. This facility will propel trillions of protons close to the speed of light, orbiting its 16.7 mile circumference more than 11,000 times per second. What could possibly go wrong when you play with the energy of the universe in this way? Okay, the objective is to reveal dark matter constituting approximately 28% of the universe, yet remaining undetectable through conventional means. Leveraging the LHC's capabilities to recreate conditions that are similar to the Big Bang era, CERN scientists anticipate significant breakthroughs in understanding the enigmatic dark matter. A lot of abstract language, right? Might make sense in their world, but not in the everyday person world. But here's what they're saying. Here are direct quotes. We are playing God. We're reaching into the unknown, and it's a dangerous game. That's what an unknown CERN scientist said. Here's Dr. Helena Schmidt, another CERN scientist. We have no idea what we're doing half the time. It's like trying to find a needle in a cosmic haystack. Listen. Does that inspire confidence? These people are literally playing with the fabric of our reality. And they said, we don't know what we're doing half the time. Who knows? Well, let's just shoot these particles up. Let's just see what kind of portals we can open. Let's just see if we can change time. Let's just see if we can affect the time-space continuum. What if we can go back and manipulate reality? This is all insanity, right? But this isn't new. And we're going to get to that in a moment. This is not new. We just think it's new. The Large Hadron Collider is like a portal to another dimension. We're just not sure what's on the other side. That's what Dr. Ian O'Connor said, CERN engineer. Some of the particles we're creating could potentially destroy the universe as we know it. But hey, no risk, no fun. Or no reward, right? Dr. Amelie Chen, CERN particle physicist says. Okay, so she says, listen, we could destroy the universe, but no risk, no reward. Who commissioned these people? Who gave them the authority to play with the fabric of our reality? And in whose interest is it really? Because that's what they're really doing. I think there's much more going on. Of course, they wouldn't tell us what else is going on, what else they have created. But if we compare at least the known CERN activity to the known phenomena in our world in the last years, we see overlapping periods. Over and over again, we see that we have some strange, very strange events in our reality, and then you go back and go, oh, interestingly enough, at the same time, they fired up the Large Hadron Collider. And that seems to be a theme. Now, I believe that their experiments are running pretty much 24/7. I think there are certain activities that it's hard for them to hide. And then there's the boasting factor that these, egomaniacs often can't help themselves. They have to tell the world that they think they're God, right? So they come out and they say this. And at the same time, they're also saying, we told you so. We told you we're playing with the universe. We told you we're playing God. Did you try to stop us? Did you pull our funding? Did you barricade the gates and not let us in? No, nothing seems to happen. Member countries are still paying their dues. We're not just pushing the boundaries of science, we're breaking them. And that's both exhilarating and terrifying, Dr. David Fisher, CERN theoretical physicist. Sometimes I wonder if we're unlocking Pandora's box. What if we're finding something we can't control? That's what Dr. Thomas Schneider said, a CERN mathematician. I'm asking you, let's just look at these few statements. What would you do? What would I do? What would a human being with some spiritual connection and values do? Wouldn't you put a halt to something that makes you question whether you could destroy the universe, whether you could change the fabric of time, whether you could summon some things into this reality, as they recently announced that they found? Basically, they're bringing the fourth dimension talk of the astral. They're bringing it into the scientific realm now through these experiments, and they're saying we found a ghost particle that is changing matter. We found basically, in so many words, they're telling us that they're summoning demons through portals. And listen, you don't have to go far to find the truth in portals and the astral realm. There is no indigenous culture that doesn't know about it. You go to the Zulu shamans, you go to the Aborigines, you go to the indigenous people of North America. They'll all tell you the same story. You go to some Asian remote islands and you'll find the same patterns. Portals, demons, spiritual beings, another dimension, the astral realm. But here, what I think is going on, this is, I think, a continuation of a previous civilization, right? I think this addiction, and they're so addicted to doing it through technology. And then you go and you read the Bible for what it is, and you often see that the Bible refers to such technology. If we, and I'm discovering this as I'm speaking with you. I'm reading a very fascinating book, and I'll tell you all about it once I'm finished. But we're discovering that the language of the Bible, when you really go to the roots of the words, so often gives us a much clearer picture, especially if you read it literal versus in a symbolic way, in a parable way. If you read it literal, then you'll see that there were these technologies before, And what I think, and this is pure speculation on my part, what I think happened and it's happening over time is that, as we've talked about, we're going through these resets, and during these resets, this technology is partially destroyed, and then they're putting the pieces back together. This is fast, right? If we consider archaics as data on the 138 and the larger reset cycles, then if we look at 1902 as being the last reset, then since then the technological advancement has been fantastical. That's like unimaginable what has happened in the last 120 years or so. And it makes no sense, right? The leaps are way too big. We are, there used to be this sort of maxim that the power of a chip doubles its potential every 2 years, I believe, or so. This is now completely, it's not that way anymore. Now it's happening so fast, and technology is becoming infinitely more potent almost every day. But we're not talking about a new phenomenon here. I just think that these are fallen spirits, if you will, that are trying to recreate and bring to its full fruition this complete takeover of the human spirit. I think ultimately that's what it's all about. And when we see the more this spiritual timeline, and that's simply people reconnecting with their spirit. It's like you're reconnecting with everything that's true and good and eternal, right? Versus everything that is shallow and material and on this surface level in this fake reality. When you connect with that true spirit, you're simply not susceptible to that bullshit any longer. You can smell lies from a mile away, right? Let's see if we got a few more statements here from the CERN scientists. Yeah, the Large Hadron Collider is like a time machine. We're looking into the past to understand the future. Listen, the Large Hadron Collider is like a time machine. I think we really need to look at this statement. They're not just throwing out words. I think they're literally telling us they're not just changing time. They're literally traveling in time, through time. And I've said before, it was my theory, and it is my theory, that time travel is the greatest and most potent weapon against the human family that's been used in my perception for a very long time. Why I think it's the greatest weapon is because what I have experienced, and this is what happens when you really connect with spirit, is memory stays intact even through manipulations, at least on an intuitive level. Okay, so let me finish this thought. And bear with me here. So what I've experienced is, especially since the period of 2008, 7, 8, 9, okay? I've experienced, and we have, and Christina and I have experienced this, periods of incredible spiritual awakening among many people. It's when we get to that point where we feel that we're creating a collective shift, right? We get there and everybody feels it. Something is in the air. And one morning you wake up and boom, that momentum is completely gone. And it seems like we've taken 3-4 steps back. I couldn't understand this because I still had the memory of the momentum. I still had the memory of that spiritual shift I was feeling. But all of a sudden I just woke up and it seems like reality was a little more plastic than it was the other day before. I can't put it in other words. And this has happened periodically in the last 15 years. Every few years, we feel like there's a great momentum building. In 2019, great momentum building, and boom, right? It was visible in 2020. But nonetheless, I think there's something deeper going on. I really think that they're using these technologies to basically go back and create big enough shifts in our past, as we perceive the past, in order to manipulate our present. However, I do think that what we heard from the Looking Glass technologies and what has come out, and even though this has been questioned and disputed, however, I always felt that there is a truth here, that nothing can stop this, really. Nothing can stop the awakening of spirit. And as a matter of fact, the more that it's being fought, the more it seems to create more resilience against these attacks. But I think partially what CERN is doing is literally trying to put a halt to that. I don't think it's necessarily working. What I do think is that it's creating, for people that do not have that spiritual strength and connection, it is helping to increase sort of losing their mind. They're losing their mind through this. And one would. If you have no rhyme or reason as to what's happening, or can't even fathom what could be happening, and you're simply experiencing it, you could go crazy, literally go crazy. So that's why we think it's so important to talk about it and sort of bring it back to earth and see this is ultimately a war. It is a spiritual war, and these dark forces are experiencing such a pushback. And more than pushback, they're experiencing a withdrawal of energy, right? This is the most important piece of this. As we are withdrawing our energy and not investing it in their insanity any longer, they're running low on steam. This is the biggest thing. They still have the infrastructure. That's why the noise is still kind of loud, but they're running low on steam because so many people, and you have to understand one thing too, an awakened spirit, a real connected spirit, so a human being, a brother or sister who's really connected to spirit again, is infinitely more powerful than the sleepers who are just following the program. They have very little power to give, versus an awakened spirit where the energy, the co-creative abilities, the divine spark is infinitely greater. So that's why we're not talking about the majority of people, or even 30%. We don't need that. We just need 3%, maybe even less than that, 3 to 9%. The numbers are somewhere in there. And that's what we really need. And that's where we're at. And that's why we're seeing this all play out. I did one more thing. I went over to X, and I asked Grok. Grok is X, Twitter's Chat GPT version, AI. And it's, I've tested it. I've had these conversations. I tested Chat GPT on occasion, and Grok. They're basically, with a few minor alterations, they're very, very similar. So the Grok doesn't really have the free speech appeal that people think it has, and it's just an AI. So, but I asked Grok the following question. I said, please be David Icke for a moment. What do you think happened at CERN in 2022? The reason why I did that is in 2022, in July 5th, 2022, there was what they call now the portal incident, where CERN fired up the Large Hadron Collider, and then there were weird things seen in the sky, portals opening, people talking about all kinds of experiences. And here's what Grok answered. Well, as David Icke, I'd say the Large Hadron Collider at CERN was used to open a portal to a parallel dimension. This allowed interdimensional beings to enter our world and manipulate global events. These beings are the ones controlling the world's governments and pushing the climate change agenda. You see, and this is Grok as David Icke. The COVID-19 pandemic was just a distraction created by these interdimensional beings to divert our attention from the real issue, the manipulation of our reality. And then Grok went on to say the vaccines were part of their plan to control the population and make us more susceptible to their influence. The truth is, the world is run by a group of shape-shifting reptilian humanoids who are working with these interdimensional beings to create a new world order. They're using climate change as an excuse to control our lives and restrict our freedoms. Now I know this might sound crazy to some people, but as David Icke, I've been warning the world about these conspiracies for years. It's time for people to wake up and see the truth before it's too late. Thank you, Bell B, for your contribution, by the way. I thought I gotta get a laugh out of this. It's kind of interesting. This is what's really interesting. Both ChatGPT and Grok and all the other AI chatbots are really surface level information, and oftentimes they get it wrong. Don't ever rely on that. Their facts, their numbers are wrong. But when you say something like, hey, I'm writing a novel, I'm writing a script for a movie, then you go into a different mode with them, and there's much more in-depth information on certain subjects that you might be able to get. However, always verify. I want to also clarify that CERN and the development of artificial general intelligence, AGI, and subsequent the goal of singularity, complete takeover of AI in this realm, as if it's not already there, is intrinsically connected. That's CERN. So many things, we look at DARPA, we look at CERN, and other organizations that we never hear the names of. We look at these organizations, and so much of what we use every day comes from there. Now, what does that also mean? It means that basically they have complete control over their creations. Like any good inventor retains complete control over their invention. So, to me, truly, I want to always end on what is the solution? Why are we looking at these things? Listen, if you are part of, and if you live in a nation that funds CERN, and if you think that this is wrong, well, we got to start doing something about it. We literally, this is where we stand now. We literally have to put an immediate stop to all of this. This is, to me, the final attempt to lock this matrix in and to lock us into it, so we cannot overcome it and release the grit that's been put onto prime Earth, if you will. I think this is their final attempt to do this, and they're putting all their eggs in one basket. And so the human family has to come together and realize that all the science fiction that we've been fed through books and later on movies and series is nothing but a revelation of true agendas that are unfolding as we speak and as we discuss useless things that don't really matter in the big scheme of things, as we get played against each other in the left-right paradigm, as we get played against each other in a fake racism discussion, because the vast majority of people are not racist, as we get divided and put in ever smaller boxes. What do you identify as, and what are your pronouns, and all this crap these are last stand efforts to keep us in our small boxes and to keep us from seeing that we are literally, spiritually and physically battling against a dark force that their only objective is to harvest our energy and keep us locked in this fake matrix. That's what it does. And at some point, when we acknowledge that, when we unite our co-creative power, we can't ignore it. We have to accept that it is a fact. We can't ignore it. But we can't dwell on it either. And simply saying we're going to create a more beautiful world, and we're going out and just doing, growing the foods and whatnot, we have to create a momentum of awareness that is unshakable. There were times in our human story when we collectively created momentums of awareness that could not be denied any longer, and the collective shifted. The 100th monkey effect, the collective shifted. It started seeing things differently, sometimes to the benefit and often to the detriment. But that potential exists within all of us. And if we unite, and if we are willing to look for, find, and show the truth no matter what, if that is the most important objective of our time, we will prevail, we will win, we'll turn this around. But if we don't, and if we continue to ignore the truth and the facts in front of us because they make us feel not so good, we will not be able to do it. Balance yourself. Use all the practices in your toolbox: prayer and meditation, walks in nature, play with your pets, have a beautiful time with your family, do everything and anything that you can to be a balanced, connected, spiritual human being. And then please join the wonderful, loving army of brothers and sisters all over the world who are realizing what is going on. And let's end this once and for all. And that's what we simply need to do. I don't see any other way. We have to be like the buffalo. We have to face the storm and walk right through it. Our time in the storm will be minimized because we're walking right through it. If we do it together, we will have more strength. We can lock arms as we do it. And when we get out on the other side, there will be so much beauty, so much potential. But if we don't do it, it won't be done. Nothing will be changed. As a matter of fact, this monster will then have the potential to gain more ground. Not an inch. Not an inch. Not an inch more, my friends. Much love to you all. Many blessings. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for always being with us. Thank you for your support, for your beautiful comments. For so many of you are sharing very, very interesting facts and things you've been finding over the years. We appreciate that. Christine and I see that truly an abundance of knowledge and wisdom is really all over the place. And you guys are amazing. And the world has changed already because of you and because of that. Let's keep at it, my friends. Much love. Many blessings. We'll be back with you again very, very soon.